A return to Xterra's oldest venue for Europe's biggest race. Long seen as a dress rehearsal for the Xterra World Championships, the European champs in Czech drew nearly every one of the World Cup top 10. It was the series' strongest field yet, locked in to do battle on the notorious grounds of Prachatica. But what unfolded was pure unpredictability. Upsets, down-to-the-wire finishes, and more questions than answers with a little more than a month to go before the season's biggest race. Stay tuned for how it happened at the penultimate stop of the 2024 Xterra World Cup in Prachatica, Czech Republic. The athlete presentation in the town square has been a long-standing tradition of the race in Czech, with no shortage of star power on the red carpet this year. Among them, the defending European champion and World Cup leader Felix Farissier, world champion and three-time European champion Arthur Serrière, and the ever-threatening Jens Sloth-Nielsen, the only athlete between Farissier and Serrières at the top of the World Cup rankings. For the women, defending European champion Loan Duverson returned for her first Xterra race of the season, up against world champion Solène Bilwan, World Cup champion Elise Patiez, two-time European champion Sandra Meerhofer, and the hometown hero Annette Grabmüller.
It's always nice to come back here and people know me and it's fun, but this year it feels a bit different. I feel there are higher expectations for me and definitely puts a bit more pressure.
Along the shores in Katitsky Lake, it was the full distance course that got the racing underway. With nerves evident as another 100 series points and the European Championship title hung in the balance.
On your marks!
Michele Bonacina did what Bonacina does, setting an aggressive pace in the water for anybody that dared to follow. Poland's Jan Trinowski took the challenge, and for the first time, so did Felix Farissier, the series leader keeping pace with the lead pack to put 40 seconds on his biggest rivals. Pre-race favourites Arthur Serrières and Maxime Chanet followed in the chase pack, while Jens Sloth-Nielsen began his favoured discipline with a 2.5-minute deficit as he looked to hunt down the only man above him in the series rankings. Onto the bike, Farissier took off like a man possessed, dropping Trinowski and leaving Bonacina hanging on for dear life as the Frenchman looked to be untouchable. Further back, Serrières and Chanet began to work together, holding the gap to Farissier but failing to reduce the deficit. But behind the French pair, the race had completely exploded, with Jens Sloth-Nielsen using the men's field as rabbits to chase as he looked to close the gap solo. It was at the foot of the big climb that athletes made their attack. Farissier went first, putting down some unreal wattage to drop Bonacina on his way to the highest point of the course. Serrières followed suit, dropping Chanet to go on the hunt solo, while Jens Sloth-Nielsen continued to make his way to the front. Farissier maintained his lead into transition, heading onto the run 2 minutes ahead of a hungry chase pack, where Bonacina, Serrières and Sloth-Nielsen had their work cut out for them. Serrières immediately got to work, catching Farissier at the 6k mark as the Frenchman began to pay dearly for his intensity on two wheels. Accelerating hard through the toughest part of the course, Serrières now looked to be the untouchable one, with Farissier in deep trouble of being chased down by the Dane. Another masterclass in pacing and race experience, Serrières captured his 5th Xterra Czech win to claim a 4th European Championship title.
I'm quite happy. It's a race that suits me well. It's really good news for me about my shape leading to World Championship.
Defending champion Felix Farissier crossed in second, completely drained, to relinquish his European title. Sloth Nielsen finished in third, just 60 seconds behind the winner after serving 3 30-second penalties, leaving the visibly frustrated Dane to wonder what might have been. Next up were the women, and all eyes were on the local hero Annette Grabmuller, expected to take command in her strongest discipline. As predicted, Grabmuller led the women's field out of the water, putting nearly a full minute on her closest competitors. 58 seconds back, a massive chase group exited together, with favourites Luan Duvisson, Elise Patiez and Solène Bilwan all exiting within a second of each other. Grabmuller dropped the hammer early on the bike, using her knowledge of the trails to extend her lead by a full 2 minutes by the first big climb. Behind her, Duvisson and Patiez had teamed up to share the work as they looked to find the front of the race, while Bilwan slipped further behind in her own battle with illness after starting the day with a fever. But with more needing to be done and Patiez already in the red, Duvisson launched a solo attack. Not giving up an inch, Grabmuller was pushing hard into every corner, giving herself a nearly 2.5 minute lead heading into the run. But with the final discipline being Grabmuller's weakest and Duvisson's strongest, the hunt was now on as the Swiss saw a possibility of a second consecutive title. By the halfway point, Duvisson had halved the gap, taking control of the race in the exact same place as Serrière. Now unchallenged and still picking up speed, Duvisson crossed in first to become the 2-time European champion on her first Xterra race of the season.
It was really a great race. Yeah, it's never easy to defend the title, and so yeah, really happy about my race.
Grabmuller held on to second for the single best result of her career in front of the home crowd, whilst Patiez finished third, almost a minute 30 behind. One of the most anticipated short track races of the series, it was the women who were up first on the course where the fast format began in 2019. It was Grabmuller again who led in the water, but back from illness, Solène Bilwan was clearly ready to fight as the world champion followed in a competitive chase pack, with Elise Patiez and Luan Duvisson just 10 seconds behind. On the bike, Bilwan dropped the hammer immediately, taking Patiez with her as the two caught and passed Grabmuller on the first climb. The French pair then played a game of cat and mouse, reminiscent of their 2023 battles, as they exchanged leads before entering T2 neck and neck. Again, accelerating at max speed out of transition, Bilwan quickly took the lead and never looked back, keeping Patiez at a safe distance behind her throughout the entire run. Charging Duvisson used her run to get past Grabmuller, but there was no chance at catching the lead, as Bilwan proved she was back in full form to take the short track win.
I'm happy that my skills also improved, and I think we just fight a lot in the front with Alizé, so we pushed quite hard, and it's about taking some risk, but also about judging this risk to see if it's worth it.
Patiez would hold on to finish in second before the newly crowned Euro champ took the final podium position. In what was about to unfold as one of the all-time epics of the format, the men's short track race was next, with vengeance clearly on the minds of some and momentum creating a tailwind for others. After an all-out sprint in the 2 laps win, it was Poland's Jan Czanowski who led out of the water, with Michele Bonacina and Felix Verissier just a few steps behind, as all 3 men entered transition together, while Arthur Serrières led the chase pack that crucially contained Jens Emil Sloth-Nielsen, who had hung on to the group as they hit T1. Bonacina led for almost 2 laps, with Felix and Arthur strung out behind, but already Jens Emil Sloth-Nielsen had made his way through the group and was in hot pursuit of the front of the race. It was on lap 3 that Felix had entered beast mode, pushing hard into the front and leaving Bonacina and Serrières struggling to close the gap. But it was the hell-bent Jens Emil Sloth-Nielsen who worked his way to the front, entering T2 alongside Verissier. The 2 men would battle it out toe-to-toe until an ominous Serrières joined them and eventually took the lead. After dropping the Dane, the 2 Frenchmen went into the final straight with Serrières just inches ahead.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, look at this! They're battling all the way to the finish line!
With Verissier visibly hurting and deep in the red, the race seemed sealed until the World Cup leader dug deep to find the strength for one final push, to snatch the race by less than 1 second. Serrières at full throttle could only watch as victory disappeared, both men collapsing immediately over the finish line.
Yeah, it was a pretty difficult race. I tried to push a lot, specifically at the finish line with the sprint with Serrières.
I'm quite happy to have this moment with Felix. It's not every day you can have some opponent like that, and I'm super respectful, and I think it's 1 sprint for Felix, a 0 for me. To the next.
Sloth-Nielsen bagged his 2nd bronze of the weekend, having played an integral part in shaping one of the best races of the series. As the penultimate stop, nobody could have asked for more. Felix Verissier may have done enough to guarantee himself a World Cup title, while Arthur Serrières now finds his way into 3rd after skipping the opening race. Solène Bilwan will also feel safe with her lead ahead of the last stop, but the same cannot be said of Mendito and Patiez, who are now just 8 points apart. But what lies ahead is now the final stop of the series and the biggest race in off-road triathlon, as the Xterra World Championship returns to Trentino, Italy. And if the penultimate stop has shown us anything, it's that this may be the hardest World Championship to predict in a long, long time. Check out the World Cup Series page on xterraplanet.com for more World Cup content, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel for the next video when the World Cup touches down beneath the Brenta Dolomites in Italy for the 2024 Xterra World Championship.
I bet on my